I think part of what I love in these Change Me prayers is the element of mystery and surprise. They invite a quality of, it's very different than saying, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to visualize everything that I want and just keep psychically demanding that until it occurs. This is a way of saying I'm inviting in the divine plan and I'm allowing room. I'm asking to be shifted on the inside to allow room for the highest, most expansive plan to occur. And I'm asking to be changed in a way to get out of the way. There's a great line from Rumi, and I don't have it exactly word for word, but some of you may know it, where it basically says, when you get out of the way appears. And that, in a sense, is the essence of Change Me prayers. When you get out of the way itself takes over. And as I was mentioning in part one of the motivations I had for writing about these prayers is that so many spiritual paths would say, just surrender, just let go, drop it, leave it, but they would not tell you how to surrender, because I think very few people actually have a plan for how to surrender. They'll just say, just surrender. That is not so easy for the ego to do. However, Change Me prayers allow the divine inside to do for us what the small self could never do. They literally get the small self out of the way so that the inner divine's plan can emerge. And I've just found them invaluable for that. They also, over time, really shift your entire sense of identity. So it's not just like getting the small self out of the way for specific problems. They actually shift your identity into knowing that the great self can use you, whoever you are, in whatever form, regardless of gender or age or nationality or race or all these sort of small self-identities, regardless of those identities, that the sense of identity begins to dissolve so that it's not that you just are those things, but that you are a vehicle for the great self. You are a carrier of that energy. And then the plan that great self has begins to have this untrammeled ability to come through you. And it's a very funny thing, because the other thing I find with these Change Me prayers is that the more you do them, the more you start going into this place, instead of saying, let's say a problem happens. Let's say, all of a sudden you find out that your rent has gone up $300, overnight. You just find this out. And, the traditional way to work with that might be to panic or to freak out or to worry or to be mad, and all those things could happen for a little bit. But once you're doing Change Me prayers and you're actually saying, let's use that example, change me, divine, into one who knows that every material need is always handled, or change me, divine, into one who absolutely trusts abundance in all of its forms, or even change me, divine, into one who knows exactly how to allow this, knows exactly what to do with this rent increase. It's like what it happens is that in that moment of getting the problem, whatever it is, over time, it's sort of like building a muscle. you immediately start to have the prayers arise. Like they just start arising on their own rather than thinking, here's this huge problem and now I have to bang myself against the wall to figure out how to not panic and deal with it. Instead, as a reflex, you immediately start calling in the divine. And then what arises is a kind of curiosity that really becomes, wow, I wonder how the divine is going to solve this through me. So this is, to me, one of the really beautiful ways that these prayers operate is this curiosity starts to take over. There's actually a great line. I don't know who said this line, but somebody wrote it on my Facebook page. And they said the more you offer things to the divine, the more adversity becomes curiosity. The more adversity becomes curiosity. And my God, I love that. Because, again, all the training of the culture would be, adversity, panic, freak out, be mad, whatever. Or pull yourself by your bootstraps and plunge through and make it happen. But there's a different approach to adversity, which is that offering to the divine where you're really sharing the burden. In fact, I would personally say it goes beyond sharing. The burden is actually cast to the inner divine, and then the inner divine carries the weight of it so that then you can say, wow, this is a really disturbing and strange change that came. I wasn't expecting this $300 rent increase. However, I've now done Change Me prayers and I've now offered it to the divine. I'm so curious to see what it will show me to do. And then you can even do a changing prayer that says, let me rest in the knowledge that you have a solution to even the most puzzling dilemmas or even the most overwhelming dilemmas. Change me into one who trusts that you have a solution to every dilemma. There's a lot of different ways to say these things, so I'm just sort of spilling them out of my brain for you as we go because they're like a I feel like I have a change me prayer lobe of my brain. I've sort of been doing them for so long as a reflex that any situation comes up and I'm like, okay, let a change me prayer come out. So I'm just giving you a few ideas of how I use them personally, and I encourage you to write your own as well. Sometimes I've been just amazed in the forum, in the Living OO forum or on Facebook, the beauty of the prayers that people will write, the changing prayers that people will write when they're given permission to do it. Like rather than thinking, here's some rote thing that you have to memorize because somebody else wrote it, to say, no, get the general philosophy of these prayers, which is that they are invitations to the divine to get you out of the way so a divine plan can come through. Once you really get the essence that that's what the prayers are about, you can feel a lot of freedom to begin experimenting with them yourself. And you can also see it in the back of the book, now that you have it. There's a huge appendix of all these different topics. And they're really, again, just to get you going so that you can write your own. And then there's a bunch of blank pages in the back for you also to just practice writing your own. That's one more aspect of this that is really exciting to me because so many people come from traditional religion where there's something to do a sort of rote memorization about, or there's this idea that there's only one way to do it or you have to do it perfectly, and that even spills over into the visualization, manifestation world, where somebody says don't try to visualize too many things at once or the universe is going to get confused, it won't know what you're trying to ask for, blah, 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 blah. All of that, to me is from the level of the small self and the level of the ego. If you view these prayers as ever deepening intimacy with the divine, you begin to trust yourself doing them. I promise you that will happen. You begin to trust your own route with the divine. You begin to trust how to write them, because in the end, they become love letters that you're writing to the inner self, asking for transformation.